This video shows you how to repair or fix the broken strips on your bed frame. Sometimes, you might have some broken strips, on your bed frame as a result of, you jumping, on the bed, you sitting abruptly, on the bed. Or it could be as a result of following your doctor's advice to conceive and, it resulted in a broken strip. And what's the root cause, or why has this happened? It could be primarily as a result of you, exceeding the safety margin with respect to the stress or the amount of force applied per unit area, and the induced strain on the bed or the extension per unit length. And so the safety margins set for how easily the material can stretch and deform has been exceeded, okay? If you take into account Hooke's law, there is a direct link between the force applied and the induced strain on the bed. We can see that the safety limits or the tolerance margins, with respect to the Young modulus law of elasticity or stress and strain has been exceeded. The plank strip wasn't able to withstand the excessive force or compression or elongation with respect to its length. Suffice to say, the excessive force and the excessive induced strain resulted in this deformity. And now that we're done with the problem definition, how do we fix this? If you get thicker strips, that would help significantly with regards to its robustness and sturdiness. But if you breach the Young modulus or Hooke's principle, this deformity will still recur. So take cognizance of why this happened in the first place, so you can forestall a recurrence. So let's get down to how to fix the broken strip. Taking into account all of the aforementioned, just a personal preference, for me the best approach would be to reinforce the strips, on the bed frame. So first, start by measuring the length, the breadth, and the depth or thickness of one of the plank strips, as well as the screw that goes into the plank strip. Take the length and diameter of the screw, okay? It's important that you get your measurements accurately, so repeat and reproduce the process up until you're 100% sure and confident that you've got the right measurements. The next step would be to identify the strip material, and also draw up a bill of materials, especially if you're going to reinforce it with multiple strips. So we have identified, the material as plywood and not pine wood, okay? We know that from one raw board sheet we can get about 10 strips from it. So I will work with that first. Then subsequently I can always get other strips from a different board. And so this is what your plywood raw sheet board looks like, okay? The plywood sheet shown here is about 9 mm in thickness. I've only just shown you this for demonstration purposes, okay, to show you what the plywood sheet looks like. But in actual reality, the thickness of the plywood board that was cut was 12 mm, okay? So the length is fine, the breadth is fine, except the depth or thickness for the demonstration board, okay? But this is what it actually looks like, okay? And you can see the dimensions on the hardwood plywood. And so this is just for demonstration purposes, okay? So get your local shop to cut up the 1220 by 610 by 9 mm hardwood plywood board into strips, okay? And line them up, on your bed frame. And so something interesting happened, during the cut process. The local shop didn't cut up all of the 10 strips. They only cut up about 7 strips, and that was, for health and safety reasons. And that's why we have one of the planks width to be 17.7 centimeter. It had something to do with how the plywood would sit on the machine vertically or horizontally to be cut, okay? And this is the plywood plank in question here. So I decided not to discard the 17.7 width plank, but I utilized it, at the central position to reinforce the bed. I will show you in a subsequent video how to get more strips of your 17.7 plank using a circular saw. So click on the link in the description to see how to use a circular saw. You can also see that this is a hard plywood and not pine wood. You've got layers or stratas, embedded within the strip structure. And if you're worried about an overly tight fit of the strip on the bed frame, just knock off about, zero point 0.3 or 0.2 centimeter off the length of each strip, which is about 90 centimeter in length. It's pretty much up to you if you want a loose fit or tight fit, just cut it bespoke to requirements. The next step of the process would be to centralize where our screw goes into. So pretty much centralize where our screw goes through the HardWood Plywood strip onto the white support where each strip sits on. So basically set your strip on the white support in situ into position and work out the central location where your screw drives through the stripe and the white support without edging out, at the edges. So here I am marking out the screw driving safe zone. The safe coverage area where the strip rests on the white support is 2 centimeter, and where you need to drive your screw in on the strip is 1 centimeter. So I'll be marking that off with the meter rule. So here you can see I'm marking it off at 1 centimeter. Okay, that's where we're going to drive the screw in. And so we're going to extrapolate that line position and mark out, the center, at both edges, okay, off the 1 centimeter mark, okay. So at exactly the midpoint or somewhere around the midpoint, that's where you'd want to drive your screw in so that, it's evenly distributed. With respect to the driving force position of the screw when you drive it in and how it evenly balances out on the bed frame. So now that we're done with centralizing our screw in position, we need to select the drill bit. The drill bit's profile should be slightly lesser than the profile of your screw. The screw in question here is 1.5 inches in length and about 0.3 centimeter in diameter. The drill bit is about 3 mil, and you can see the thread of the screw, it slightly protrudes out from the drill bit. That's how you select your drill, okay. That ensures that you don't do any overkill when you're drilling. So essentially we're going to test out by drilling one strip first, then subsequently replicate the process on other strips. So we're going to vary the speed on the drill to position 2 for drilling and hit the knob down, which indicates that our drill bit, drills downwards. You can either set down auto or manual drilling setting, and let's drill the strip. Ensure that the 3 mil drill bit sits properly into the chock. If it's not sitting in properly, it wobbles, okay? Because if it wobbles all the time, your drill bit could break. I have also utilized a scrap piece underneath the strip, just to make sure that I do not over drill, okay, past the mark that I've set for myself. You can use a masking tape to tape your drill bit if you want, okay, but I'm just using this as a crude measure. So drill both ends at the 1 centimeter mark centralized position, on the strip. And also ensure that whilst you're getting, the drill bit out of the hole that's been drilled, you hit the knob on the left hand side, whilst you're getting your drill out of the hole. That ensures that, your drill doesn't break as well, okay? Because sometimes your drill bit could get jammed in the hole and you do not want your drill bit, breaking off midway, okay? And here you can see that when I drill, I push the button on the right, and when I'm taking out, the drill, I push the button, on the left. The next step would be to extrapolate or process map, this whole positions, onto the white support frame. My screw is 1.5 inches and my drill bit is way more than 1.5 inches. So I'll be masking off, my drill bit, at, 1.5 inches or, a lot lesser than 1.5 inches, just to make sure that when my drill goes through the white support, it doesn't come out at the other end, okay? You can drill just by visual inspection, but I think you're better off, masking your drill bit as no system is fill-proof, okay? And you can just about see the masking on the drill bit, which reduces the likelihood of human error. You know, sometimes it's best to use, you know, your cream masking tape or paper. But you know, if the masking that you've got on the drill bit moves whilst you're drilling in, feel free to retape it. Okay, always, you know, remeasure and just make sure that you're not drilling past the white support where the strip sits at. And now that we have successfully made our centralized hole incisions, we can now drive in the screws in the drilled hole positions. Insert the PZ2 screw bit into the chuck of the drill, okay? And then drive in your 1.5-inch screw through the strip and the white support, but just making sure that, you know, you set the speed of the drill to 1 and you push that knob down, okay? So vary the speed to 1 when you're screwing in and vary the speed to 2 when you're drilling. So first, drive in, you know, some part of the screw through the strip. Then sit the protruding screw on the other side of the strip onto the pre-drilled hole on the white support, okay? Then drive in the screw. You know, when you sit, you know, the screw in the white support, it serves as a go or no-go gauge, okay? And also, when you're drilling or driving your screws in, make sure that, you know, you don't push your drill bit or your screw bit into the chuck of the drill too further in. You want the full length, otherwise the chuck's housing starts to clash with the white sideward panel of your bed frame, and you know, you don't want that, do you? As it could chip at the paint if, you know, you don't extend, you know, the screw bit or the drill bit as far as you can, you know, whilst inserting into the chuck of the drill. So just take note of that, okay? Also note, as a point of interest, that, you know, when I was screwing down the strips onto the bed frame, that, you know, the strips were placed over the flat white fabric that you see in the midsection. So you can unscrew your strips, you know, using your drill and properly insert, you know, the strips, you know, underneath the flat fabric tape. And now that we're sure that we can confidently install, you know, one strip, replicate or repeat and reproduce the process for other strips, okay, including the 17.7 centimeter width plywood strip. And so we're just going to replicate the process for the other planks by using the screw that protrudes from the underside of the strip as a guide into the pre-drilled holes like we did before, okay? Then screw down, okay? We're just going to keep on repeating this subsequently for other strips. And as you can see, if we think about what we're doing, the assembly process becomes relatively more easier. After drilling and getting all the screws in at both ends, the next step of the process would be to install the flat fabric at the midway section of all of the installed strips, and to retrofit or complete the flat fabrics installation, we will be utilizing a staple gun and staple remover. And so painstakingly install pins on both flat fabrics at the midway section of the bed frame, 2 pins each on each strip. If you haven't installed the pins correctly, you can always utilize a staple remover to get the pins out, then reinstall. And once you're done with the installation process, you hammer down, you know, the pins and flush into the strip. So you can see I'm removing pins that haven't been adequately pushed down whilst squeezing on the trigger of the stapled gun. That, you know, subsequently I've made them flush, you know, using a hammer. You know, the bed frame could use 2 or 3 more strips of plywood, but the reinforcement just about does the job, as you don't get a lot of traction, you know, at the headrest space or at the leg rest space, but, you know, rather in the midsection. So that's where I've concentrated the reinforcement. If you're worried about aesthetics, you could distribute, you know, the strips more evenly across, you know, the bed frame section, but I'm not worried about aesthetics as such, so I'm happy with the reinforcements, okay? Visually inspect the work for any defects and correct them, and that's about it really. You've got your bed frame reinforced. If you want to see how to use the circular saw, click on the link in the description. And that's about it really. If you found the information useful, don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Helps the channel grow, and hopefully catch up with you later. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Goodbye.